All right. Great episode we have today. We're fired up. We got Tyler Siskey coming in. We'll have him on in a couple seconds. Fantastic podcast. We're looking to talk. He coached University of Alabama with Saban. He was at Ole Miss with Kiffin. He's been at obviously quite a few places, as a lot of former college coaches have been. He now has his own podcast, which is like one of the fastest growing podcasts, at least
Crazy.
in college football, no doubt about it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yep.
But I see it all the time on TikTok. I see him live on TikTok. He's got live on TikTok. He's got
He's
it.
awesome. His
Yeah,
lives
he's
are
got it
his
all going.
lives
Yeah,
have become like a daily thing for me.
daily thing. You get all kinds of great nuggets from it. So without further ado, let's bring on Tyler. What's going on, man?
How we living, guys? Everybody good?
Everybody's good, Coach. Appreciate you taking the time. I know you got a busy schedule, but appreciate you taking the time out to speak with us.
Oh, you're good, man. We enjoyed it, man. I got some work. Friday's usually a slower day on the quick use side, so usually teams that are getting ready to play or they're getting ready for that great day tomorrow, the mock scrimmage.
Oh yeah.
The greatest day in college football coaching history. Um,
Everybody,
Get out
everybody's
healthy,
great during
baby.
that day,
Let's
right?
just get out healthy.
Oh, we had like about 3 minutes before Brian Jones came on. We had him on the show yesterday. We had about 3 minutes before he came on, and I felt like I just needed to send out a PSA to all young coaches, all GAs, and just let them know that tomorrow's going to be rough for you. You're going to question whether or not that you really want to coach football because you're going to get talked to like you've never been talked to before. We've all been there. Just get through tomorrow, and Monday will come and they'll be game planning for the first opponent. You'll be fine. So if you're a young coach, just get through tomorrow. You'll be just fine.
If guys aren't doing their job, you're gonna get blamed real quick.
It's the worst. It's the worst. You got to go get them lined up, and they got to give you a good look. But at the same time, you can't touch the other team because it's a week before. So you're too close. You're too far away. It's just and it's not just the quarterback. It's every position, right? So
literally.
And who gets yelled for it? The GA or whoever's running that side of the field.
Absolutely.
So been there, done that one about 5 times.
Coach, give, and I touched on your background, but give the breadth of your background, how you got into college coaching originally, and then obviously what was the impetus for launching the podcast as well.
Yeah, so I started. I went to Auburn out of high school. Was there, played with Coach Bowden, and then we had this guy named Tommy Tillville that got the job. I won't get into that, but then I left and went to Troy, and that was probably my first indication of how college football was supposed to be. Larry Blakeney, the staff there were Jim Morrell, Mike Turk, Don Jacobs, that whole crew we had, Jim Dye, Tracy Rocker was on that staff, Wayne Bolt. So they really, it was almost, it showed you the relationship you should have with your players. I was a terrible player for Coach Blakeney. He owed me nothing. I was helping my dad paint a house in the off season in June, to be specific. We had over a weekend, and I fell 40 feet off of a roof. And fortunate to be here, right? But somehow landed on my feet, and then when I did, I had a tib, fib, all the way break, dislocated ankle, two bones in my feet, and a cracked fibula. Cracked femur. So, needless to say, that was going into my 5th year. Not that it hurt the team at all. It probably the only thing is it gave somebody probably a rest on special teams or something, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, Coach Blakeney owed me nothing. And he called me up and said, "Hey, I got a spot coaching receivers. Would you be interested?" And so I was like, "Yeah." And so I finished up my education and helped Coach Rao with the receivers. And that was the day before big staffs. So you had a lot of responsibilities and things like that, and kind of learned on the go. Got on with Steve Roberts at Northwestern State, who was also very instrumental in my career. We won there, was there 1 year, went to Arkansas State with him, got married. He said we wasn't making any money back then, guys. And so he got married and had to get a real job, and became a high school coach, was a high school coach for 4 years. And after 4 years, money got a little bit better, and receivers job opened back up on Coach Roberts' staff at Arkansas State, and went back. Was there with him at Arkansas State. Hugh Freeze came on at Arkansas State, stayed with him. He was the offensive coordinator, then the head coach, and then went with him to Ole Miss. Left Ole Miss and got a call of a blue from a guy named Nick Saban. That'll change your life in a hurry.
Real quick.
Yeah, real quick. So I was with him for a few years, and then wanted to get back on the field and have my own room. Had kind of gotten burnt out on the recruiting part of it. Wanted to get back on the head coaching track. So I went and took a wide receiver job at South Alabama, which is in Mobile, where I had coached high school before, so it was kind of my adult home. They didn't have a football team when I was there the first time, and so back. And then one of my best friends, Matt Luke, got the head coaching job at Ole Miss. Went back with him, and then somebody peed in the end zone and got our ass fired. So then I decided I said, hey, if I'm ever going to do it, the pandemic hit. It was kind of the right time. I've had this idea for Quick U for a long time. If I ever got out of it, and I said, hell, if I'm ever going to do it, now's the time. So I started Quick U. So enjoying every minute of it.
That's awesome. So I didn't realize that you had started that Quick U was you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really, really interesting. So it's a great idea. It's been a great thing as well. Now you're doing obviously the podcast too as well, and you have a guy that's on the reporting side, William McCready, and then you're obviously the football coaching side, and the insights are immeasurable. You know what I'm saying? The way that you guys really dive into things.
Yeah, the approach.
College football today, the landscape is so crazy, and now you tabbed on there the increase in scholarships, but the decrease in roster sizes, right? Which is really going to be a huge thing again. What is some of the things that you've really seen that has changed so much in just the recruiting landscape first from when you were coaching just a few years ago?
Yeah, there's really only one difference. I think people make it out to be a lot more than it is. There's one difference. Now, it is a big difference, okay? And it's a major thing that affects everything. And I always say, and this is not a joke, look, this is about money. And we bring up all this stuff that we bring up, and we bring up settlements and lawsuits and all this stuff. It's about money, guys. And at the end of the day, you could have this fixed in a 15-minute lunch meeting. I've said that over and over again. And guess what? Nobody has ever argued the other side of the point, because they know I'm right.
Correct.
The problem is that the NCAA is holding on to everything they can because it's their moneymaker. There's not one person in charge that's for the betterment of the game. There's not one person. There's no commissioner. And look, I don't fault them. I want to say that too. I'm a realist. I don't fault them. But Greg Sankey, who is the greatest college football commissioner of all time, he's got to look out for his 16 SEC schools. So, and the Big Ten commissioner, he's got to do what's best for him. And so that's who he works for. He doesn't work for all of college football. And so there needs to be a commissioner. But at the end of the day, the number one issue in college athletics that would fix everything is immediate eligibility. It's not the portal. People confuse what the portal is. The portal is not the problem. The portal was around before immediate eligibility. The portal was put in place in October of 2018. I was there. It was put in place to keep players from having to go and talk to the coach and talk them out of it, or blocking where they go transfer to. That was what the portal was put in for. It wasn't put in to be immediately eligible. And so I say this, and I'm waiting for someone to argue this point with me, but nobody ever argues the point with me. I'm actually looking forward to the day that somebody thinks this actually makes sense. Is the National Football League. The NFL is the greatest football organization that ever lived. Imagine a world in which the NFL, or check that, any profession, any sports organization that pays players, okay? Imagine a world where there was unlimited free agency with no salary cap. All right? So I think we all can all agree here, Patrick Mahomes is without question the greatest quarterback in the NFL today, and will probably retire as the GOAT whenever he shuts it down, right? He's quickly getting to Tom Brady, and you could probably already start making the argument now, right? That's kind of like the LeBron, Michael Jordan argument, right? You can go ahead. The new school is going to say Mahomes, old school guys will say Brady. But when he shuts it down, he will be the greatest quarterback to ever play. Well, imagine a world that after the Super Bowl this year, Jerry Jones picks up the phone and says, hey, you know what? I'm getting older. We haven't done well since the late 90s. Hey, I'm going to pay you $1 billion to come be my quarterback. And check this out. We have no state taxes in Texas.
Yeah.
How long do you think it's going to take for Patrick Mahomes to pack his bag and move to Dallas?
Yeah.
Be immediate.
Okay.
And
Now,
No timetable on that one. Bye.
well, the only sport that there is something like that somewhat is baseball. You can see the haves and have-nots in baseball. It's a huge
But the
problem in
Yankees did it,
baseball.
right? That's how the Yankees did it, right? They just paid
all right,
whoever.
but check me out here, though. Check me out. Now, let's say Patrick Mahomes goes to OTAs at Dallas, and he goes around, and he goes to Jerry and says, "Hey, Jerry, man, the only guy I have to throw to is CeeDee Lamb. That's the only guy I got to throw to. We're not going to be able to do this here." His agent calls him and says, "Hey, man, look, Miami, they got Tyreek, they got Jalen Waddle, they got a good offensive line. Hey, they're going to pay you $1.5 billion." He'll go right to Jerry and say, "Hey, I'm going," and can start the season with the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
Like, imagine a world that would happen. Nobody would watch. The sport would crumble. Okay. And everybody's like, "Oh, well, that would never happen. That's not right." Well, guess what? That is 100% exactly what college football is right now. It's a fundraising contest with no free agency. And we did a show yesterday. I got cracking up laughing because of the Colorado. I'm sure y'all saw the Colorado special teams coordinator. He came out and said that, "Hey, I went to go." I was joking, but I wasn't really joking. I said this like 6 months ago on our show or 8 months ago on our show. We did a whole segment on it. I said, I'm not joking. It was when John Rahm left to go to live, whenever that was. I said, if the Saudi PIF fund gave me the same money that they gave John Rahm, one golfer, to go to the Saudi PIF, they can pick the school of choice. You want to do it at Monroe, New Mexico State? It doesn't matter. You can pick the school of your choice. I'll go there. I'll take that fund, and we will win the national championship in every sport offered by the NCAA. And it's a fundraising contest.
That's
literally what it is.
You don't think I could have gone to Caleb Williams in December?
Oh, God. Oh, absolutely.
And said, "Hey, Caleb, look, I know you're not crazy about going to the Bears. And your signing bonus for the number one pick is going to be $25 million. Look, I'm going to give you $50 million for 1 year to come play for Monroe at 1 year." What do you think he's going to do?
He's going to go.
He was not going to go to the draft. Like, you could literally do stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And that's what's so when you talk about college athletics, at the end of the day, this is going to all be fixed over a lunch meeting, because it's the immediate eligibility that's the problem. It's not the money. Okay. Allegedly, per sources, NIL has been around a long time. Okay. Before they called it NIL. So it's not, money's not the problem. The problem is the immediate eligibility, because that solves everything.
Right.
If you make these guys now back to the year sitting out, do you think they should be going back to the year sitting out, or what do you think, as far as from an eligibility standpoint, that should change? What should it go to?
Yeah. So I think it needs to go at the beginning. That's all you had to do. If they had never given it on that, we'd still be in the same model. Okay. I'm for the players getting paid. I want to make that extremely clear. I'm for the players getting paid. I think they deserve to be paid. All right. 100%. Now, but it's just like, they're like, well, the coaches can leave, we can leave. But here's the trick. Coaches are employees. They're on contracts. Right. When they leave, they have to, it's called a buyout. Okay. And so it's a broken contract. And so there's repercussions for when you break a contract. All right. So right now, the only way, that is what sitting out was. It was a punishment for breaking a contract. And we used to call that the NLI, the National Letter of Intent, because that tied you from the player to the school. And they got rid of that. Right. So they didn't get rid of it. They got rid of the limit. But there's not honoring anything. So with a new model we're in, I would set it up more like the NFL, where there is a salary cap and collective bargaining. The players need to unionize. There needs to be collective bargaining, just like the NFL. That's the only way it will work. And so they keep kicking this can down the road. They're eventually going to get there. It's just there's going to be many people that are going to lose opportunities in the meantime. This could have been fixed a long time ago. And it all goes back to who wants the power and who wants the money. And that's why they don't want to break off. It's it's not politics, but it's very political. It's the people whose hands in the cookie jar when you break off, you got to take their hand out of the cookie jar. And so, when there's billions, I'm not talking about millions, when these people are making billions of dollars, they're just they don't care about the sport. They care about their checkbook. Okay. So they don't care about the sport. So there has to be somebody in charge that is in for the greater good of the sport, not in for themselves. And that's hard to find in today's world, in case you haven't figured it out.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure to assume that guys that are making that kind of money don't want to change it. Obviously, like you
Right.
said, they're not in it for the sport; they're in it for themselves. And we live in a selfish.
Yeah, no, I think from a standpoint of well, I think the constituencies and the lack of like if you're at the top of the NCAA and you're at the top of these college conferences, there is no incentive for you to give up any level of control. There's no oversight on you, so you basically are the czar of that area, right? And that's I think that's the overall underlying issue, and the coaches are the top tier coaches, meaning that the real let's take the Power Four, but really the top 20 programs that are going to be at the top all the time control all the power as well from that standpoint, because they do have the largest pocketbooks in general. And I think what you said is 100% right, in the sense that you go to Louisiana Monroe and if you have that donor comes over and boom, you're going to be able
Things change real quick.
win a championship. But as far as the power brokers in the long run are those top 20, top 25 teams kind of control the whole situation. And they're almost like an oligarchy in a sense, that they control kind of in general the outcomes that are going to happen, because they have the largest access to the biggest amount of pocketbooks and probably the biggest support and the largest universities too, right? So if you look at them too, those are probably a lot of the larger universities throughout the United States as far as population and alumni. It doesn't mean that they have the endowment of Harvard and Yale, but they have a very large constituency to drive it forward. And I don't think without any level of oversight, you're going to get the change that I think is there. And then what you end up happening, I think, has happened already in recruiting. You get like the level of information misleadingness that goes on, meaning which player's going here, which offer is real and which isn't. It really almost, I hate to say this, like when I see kids post offers, like it's almost like until you actually commit to the school, and even then that's probably going to change, but till you commit to the school, for the most part, I don't even know which offers are real and what aren't anymore, which that's changed so much. I mean, you used to kind of know, okay, this was a legit offer, and obviously from being on the inside, and these are offers that are basically to make sure you maintain a relationship if this player becomes a guy. Now all of these things are just like, it's just a big mess from that standpoint.
Yeah, I think that one thing from the actual recruiting standpoint, it happens daily around the country. Is used to, you bring a kid on a visit and you would come in and they would be like, you take them to academics, and thank goodness we got the photo shoot stuff kicked out. That was the worst idea that ever did.
Oh.
That was the worst thing ever happened. But you would go take them around campus tour, you meet position coach and do all this talk ball, and you do this and all this visit. Now it's come in, it's like, hey, I want to meet with a coach and I want to meet with your NIL agent. And then that's it. They don't need to see, they don't want to see anything. Like they don't care. It's a business transaction. And then, which is fine. If that's what we're in, like, here's where I think the players should get paid. Here's where I get frustrated about it a little bit, is for the people who are like, y'all been holding the player down for so long. Okay, cool. We're going to provide this. Okay. We're going to pay. But there's checks and balances, man. When you do this, other things are going to suffer, and y'all have to know that. And so everybody wants a utopian society. Everybody wants everybody to have things. Okay. If you have to pay money, you have to make money. Like you have to. I mean, it doesn't just, you can't go pick it. You can't grow a money tree in the backyard and go harvest $100 bills. Okay. If we could, I wouldn't be on this podcast. Well, yeah, be in Tahiti, okay, playing golf somewhere. Right? So you can't do that. And so people have kind of forgotten that, and everybody has wants everything, but they don't want the consequences of their actions. And so, it's like this settlement that I'll believe it when I see it. I think we're getting pushed propaganda that the House versus the NCAA deal is going through. There is this thing called Title IX that would be a good idea if they addressed it. I'm personally friends with a bunch of ADs, like personal friends, and I'm not making this up. This isn't me going, you know what I think is going to happen? Okay, they don't believe it. I can't find one that believes it because they haven't addressed this thing called Title IX. Okay, it's a federal law. That's like saying, hey, I want all my check. And what about the IRS, sir? I mean, like, it's just, you can't.
Are you talking about the money? Like, so if I'm paying Caleb Williams, for example, let's say I was going to pay Caleb Williams $10 million, you saying from Title IX standpoint, there should be an allocation, or are you talking scholarship number? Scholarship.
I'm talking they allegedly made an agreement about the revenue sharing, right? But they haven't talked about how they're going to split it up yet.
Yeah.
They don't know how they're going to split it up. So they sent something into settlement without knowing how they were going to split it up. How about this? The players didn't agree on shit.
Right.
Excuse my language. Can I say ugly words?
No, you can say whatever you want.
My bad. But they didn't agree to anything, right? So if they didn't agree to anything, like, have you been paying it? Like, I want to smack somebody and go, hey, have y'all not been paying attention to what's going on? The players have all the power. If you go to them and say, hey, we're going to share $22 million with it, there's going to be somebody going, wait a minute. You just got a $55 million check. I want $55 million. There's no agreement. We're not doing anything but kicking the can down the road. Right. And if the players are smart, or whoever's on, I guess that would be the house part. I'm sure they are smart. Part of this deal is how they like to sneak bottom lines in there, real fine print, part of these agreements.
Like when you buy that car, right? You get that
real fine print. When you lease a car and it says if you go over so many miles, we're going to charge you $1 a mile deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
No lawsuits towards the NCAA for a 10-year period of time. That's what this is about. Like, don't sell me. Hey, you can't sell me beachfront property in Arizona. You know what I mean? Like, people don't have common sense though. And so, yeah. And like I said, this isn't coming from me. This isn't Tyler Siskey's opinion. This is about 10 to 12 different ADs across the country on different levels that are saying the same things I am. They just can't publicly go say it. I guess I can because my give a shit meter's broke.
Yeah, I love when you say that. I love when you say that. That's the best. Somebody gives you something, and you're like, look, I might give a shit meter. And then people are like, it's like,
yeah, they don't.
What it is.
But I mean, it needs to be said, right? And that's like, if you want to fix things, okay, and it doesn't matter what it is, okay? And when I say this word, I don't mean it to be a negative word, but you can't be afraid of confrontation. Sometimes confrontation is not always negative, right?
No.
But we live in a world today that 85% of the people have common sense and understand how things work. And you got crazy people. You got the other 15% have no sense. And those 15% of the people bark so loud, right? They start barking. Right. Well, when I grew up, the 85% would say, hey, man, shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about. Right. And they'd go away. Well, now you're afraid to say anything because I'm afraid it's going to make me look bad or my employer is going to get mad at me if I
That's
say
what it
that.
is. It's
and so in the presence of silence, they start barking louder and they bark louder and they bark louder to where the 85% of people start thinking that's the majority. That's not the majority. It's the same way when it comes to this stuff. And your people in administrations across the country are scared to death to say anything. Oh, it's going to hurt me in recruiting if I come out and say it, or if it's going to do this. They all think it. They all mean it. But there's no voice to say, and that's why we need a commissioner in college football to say, hey, Greg Sankey, I appreciate your ideas. Big Ten Commission, I appreciate your ideas. Sunbelt Commission, I appreciate your ideas. But this is how we're going to do it. And there has the same way with the NFL. I mean, Roger Goodell makes $60 million a year just to take bullets from the fans and the media. You got to somebody's got to be the bad guy. Somebody's got to be the bad guy because no matter what you do, same thing in life. I'm sure y'all are on social media all the time, right?
Yep.
No matter what you do. I had a coach tell me this a long time ago. Okay. He's pretty good. He's a GOAT. He's on ESPN College Game Day now. All right. He said, Tyler, he goes, no matter what you do in life, he goes, about 80% of the people you know and are going to love you whether you do right or do wrong. They're going to be on your team. Okay, excuse me. 10% of the people, I said it backwards, 10% of the people are going to love you no matter what you do. 10% of the people are going to hate you no matter what you do. All right. And so it's that 80% that just wants you to do a damn good job. That's who you need to make happy.
Right.
So,
and it's kind of like, the same way, like when you approach like coaching or teaching, like that there's always going to be that upper level guys that no matter how you do it, what you do, they're going to follow you, they're going to listen to you, they're going to do what you're expected to do. You're always going to have that middle group that you got to work a little bit, some here, some there. And then you're always going to have that group that no matter what you do, it's going to just be, nope, he's wrong. I'm not doing it. I'm not this. I'm not
Yep.
that. Like, so you're always going to have that. So work with the majorities, right? Like work with that group that you're gonna factor into it, that no matter what you do, like they're on board. And then when you work a little bit and do a little bit extra, now more of them get on board. But it's all about, like, you got to approach it with the right audience, right? Because if you're just like, if you're so focused on that small percentage just because they're the loudest, you know what I mean? Like, and now with social media, everybody has a voice and everybody can voice it out there. And once one person, then you got a whole bunch of bandwagon jumpers that just kind of get onto it. But like, you got to really focus what you're talking about and what you want to get across with the right groups.
right.
I think that, I was an NFL agent for 6 years, and one of the things that was nice about the NFL was that the players had that support from the actual Players Association to be able to make sure that they had their own head of the Players Association, and they had the opportunity, whether you agreed with it or not, whether the agent agreed with it, whether the team agreed with it or not, they had some level of ability to fight back if it wasn't the right way. The NFL had the ability to do that on their end. Things had to be agreed upon, and from a relationship standpoint, it was very, very reassuring to know, okay, all these things you had to kind of abide by these rules. Now, there were guys that obviously in anything you're in, are doing something that they shouldn't be doing. But there was mechanisms to police it, whether it was a situation where it worked out well or it didn't. There was methodologies, and there was, you had hearings and all those kind of things. Now, the thing that in college football, the biggest issue is, and you said that because there's no oversight, because there's no such level of, are they employees, are they not employees, what are we doing here from that standpoint, the willingness to call it as it is, right? And that creates a situation where you can't begin to build a structure. So you got these pseudo structures, right? With, like, you see the staffs now, right? The unlimited staffs. You got to cheat now. You got like the pseudo NFL GM and that player personnel staff on one side, and you got the coaches on the other side. But you still don't have, from a player standpoint side, a level of representation that it goes beyond. No, you have the NIL. You have half these guys have an NIL guy that has no agent experience, and then some of them have Drew Rosenhaus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who obviously is an NFL agent, right? So you got this.
Shout out to my brother-in-law. He's one of the real ones for ESM, Everett Sports Management. Shout out to Jeff Hoffman. Greatest agent, greatest NIL agent on the planet right now. Let's go, Jeff. Shout out to my brother-in-law. I'm biased though.
There you go.
You're allowed to be, coach. You're allowed to be.
I think that's a big thing though. The difference, like, that begins to bring together. Okay, these guys have an understanding of what are the parameters, right? Like, being an NFL agent, you got to pass this 3-hour test, right? Which is quite a cumbersome thing to make sure you understand a certain level of the rules, right?
Right.
And so I think that's important, and that way you don't start to get guys selling people pipe dreams, So you're selling some of these players, pipe dreams on what money they can get. And next thing you know, they're hawking 10% off this clothing line over here that they're going to make a nickel from, right? And then you got at the high end, the whole thing that was going on with Florida and Miami and the Rashad thing. That was a whole big mess there. Where did they offer this? Did they not offer that? There's text messages on the, like, you got to get that whole thing becomes a huge issue. And it's honestly, it's not going to get better it's going to get way worse. The recruiting and the information that's going to get passed down to recruits. Now you go to like FCS level. So FBS and group of four schools, the Power Four schools, those schools, okay, are saying certain things to these players, right? That are the top tier players. But then you get the next, well, it used to be the group of five, I guess, schools, and then FCS schools, because they're have to play off of, and they got to go get recruits in a certain capacity. Now the what they're saying they're going to offer guys if they do this, and this is not always true. Like, I can't believe how many FCS schools this year were just flat out saying you gotta come to camp, and they didn't bother even offering those guys because they knew they were going to take a kid that trickled through. They knew that, but now they're trying to start to line their pockets with camp. I mean, the pennies of camp money, but they want that money. As an assistant, you want that money, right? So the camp money that comes in, you getting that extra money, and so now it's trickled down, and you get that whole kind of crazy. I think that the old I mean, I don't know if you can put the genie back in the bottle. I don't know. I really don't know.
You can in a 15-minute lunch meeting, you can be put back in the bottle.
Well, the willingness to put it back in the bottle is
you have one person, and then you brought up the key word. All right. I know the people who have the power to change it, they don't understand it.
Right.
All right. That's problem one. Okay.
Right.
It's like, I can't be a heart surgeon because I watch ER on TV. Okay.
Right.
They don't understand it. Okay. Like, it's so much like, I have a doctorate. I didn't know if y'all knew that. I have a master's in education, but I have a doctorate in common sense. Okay. And so people talk, you said the magic word employee, right? How much money has been spent by athletic departments and conferences from flying back and forth to DC talking about this issue? How about this? You know how you make them employees? You break off from the NCAA.
Correct.
Now, check this out. This is how simple this is. You break off from the NCAA, and whatever you agree the salary cap is, you run it kind of like baseball and football. Hey, the salary cap's $15 million, whatever you agree on, right? Okay. You don't have to pay $15 million. That's just the cap.
That's your choice.
Okay. We cap it. But guess what? Now they're employees. And this is why this is a good thing. And you're going to go, well, why don't they do it? And it goes back to money. All right. If I take 100, which is about to be with this new settlement, if I take 105 male scholarships out of the NCAA model, and I make them their employees, they're not in there. Guess what? That's 105 full scholarships that's going to be off of your Title IX number.
Correct.
All right. You're going to give more opportunities to people. Like, that's what blows my mind. In one hand, this group is talking about, oh, we got to make them employees inside the NCAA model. And I'm like, no. When you do that, you're going to force people to cut programs.
Absolutely.
However, move football outside of the NCAA. I just took 105 numbers off of the Title IX number from the NCAA. So now all these golfers that get $500 book scholarships to go to Ole Miss or wherever they're going, now you can put them on full.
Yep.
Baseball players, go on full. Track, go on full. You added 105 available numbers to the Title IX number, and you give people more opportunities. And you don't have to cut sports. You don't have to make it like Ross Bjork, great friend of mine. Ross Bjork, the AD at Ohio State, just talked about it yesterday at his meeting, is that, hey, we may have to take some of these sports and make them club sports, right? And you take away opportunities by doing it inside the window. It's that simple. Move them outside the window. Not only does it fix everything that we just talked about, now you're providing opportunities inside for other Olympic sports and all these other sports. You're providing opportunities for young people. Like, it's so easy. 15-minute lunch meeting, got to have it fixed. And that's not a joke, by the way. That is 100% not a joke. 15 minutes, it can be fixed.
Do you think then the universities, so football goes siloed over here, right?
Yep.
Does the universities then still take that revenue money that comes from the universities and share it with the sports? Or
They
is that
always have.
I know they always have. I'm saying, would they continue to do that? Would they feel like they would not have to, would football become its own engine per se outside of the athletic department? Like,
No, it
so
worked.
it's the university. They're still the university, but are they? Would they become outside? That I think that's one of the questions that's probably gets asked. Like, okay, football. That this money is all football, right? Obviously, they make the most money at all the schools that are in conferences per se. Because I went to UConn and until UConn gets in the conference, they're going to lose money. They're going to bleed money, right? So, but those schools now they make all that money. Do they then still share it? Now, would it become a situation? And I don't know at all. I'm just making the argument. Would it become a situation where we say, okay, now these sports have more of an opportunity, but we're not sharing that, or would that be university to university?
Yeah, so it worked literally identical to the NFL, right? So instead of having Jerry Jones as the owner of the Cowboys, it would be the president. Georgia is the owner of Georgia,
Right.
right? So they're not those owners. They're not in it to lose money, right? They make money.
Hell
So
no.
you take the money and you pay for whatever the salary cap is, and you take care of football. The rest of the money goes to the athletic department. It will be plenty to run the rest of the athletic department, which is the way it's always done anyway,
Right.
right?
It's done anyway. Yeah.
So there won't be any change in that, right? So now when you go to the salary cap, right? So now your collectives, which with part of this new settlement, it's going to be a part of it. The fans will never know the difference, but the collectives are going to be absorbed into the athletic department as a fundraising arm, right? So same thing there, right? So, but from a financial standpoint, instead of Jerry Jones being the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, the university is the owner of their team.
Right. And then those people have the opportunity to do what they want with that money. It's really it's really a matter of time. It's going to happen. It's going to be, how does it get done? And if it doesn't, it's basically, if it doesn't, you're going to end up with a smaller and smaller group of schools that are going to be able to succeed. That's all that's going to happen. You're going to start with, you might have 60 something schools that have the opportunity right now. Eventually it's going to be 25 if they don't do it. Eventually it's going to be 20, because it just becomes a continuous arms race that only so many groups are going to, it's not just have the capability, but willing to win in the way that it is today,
Well, inflation has outgrown the collective. Okay. Inflation in the pricing of the players has grown so fast in the last few years since they've made it legal, that it's outgrown the regular collective. And so what you have right now is the teams that are winning, it's funny. Every team, I guarantee you, every team that you pick to win it, they're spending money, right? So it's like a fundraising. Everybody's like, who's got the best NIL? Hey, who are you picking to win this year?
Right.
Because it's one of those.
Damn near take the AP poll and do a collective off of it, right? All right. So, that's what I laugh about that. Well, who's ranked in collective? Go look at the AP poll. Come back and holler at me. That's who's spending money.
Your Ohio States, your Oregons, your Alabama's, your Texas A&M. Like, just basically look at states without state tax. They're probably up there.
Caleb Downs and Quinshon Judkins didn't go to Ohio State because they like the Buckeyes. They didn't grow up going, let's go Buckeyes.
They could care less who's dotting the I this week.
They don't care. Yeah, they don't know. They're like, dot the I with a tuba player. What's that mean?
Yeah,
they have no idea, right? So, but that's what it's turned into. But yeah, to answer your question, I think it's going to be, we say sooner rather than later, right? Well, at the end of the day, they have to get enough kahunas to say we're doing this. And the problem is, and this is why it's taken so long. So for the fans that get frustrated like me, because I do understand how things work, you got to get all of the schools, not just the ADs, the presidents, you got to get everybody on the same page. Okay. I don't know if we're familiar, if anybody watches like life outside of football, but it's kind of like trying to go get a bill done in Congress. Good luck to your boss, because everybody has their own agenda. It's the same thing. It's the reason when we have like trouble getting bills passed in Congress or whatever it is, even the normal common sense ones, everybody's got their own agenda. And sports don't need to be run like Congress, where you have to have, it needs to be, You get a group of people like the conference commissioners need to be on a panel. You do need to take them, but you need to do what's for everything that you do. Okay. It's like, just like being a president of the United States, everything you do, regardless of your political party or affiliation, should be done in the betterment of our country. Okay. And so some may come with a little pain to get there or whatever it is. Same thing in football. When you break off the commissioner, everybody's got their own agendas. Okay. Every decision should be made in the betterment of the sport, period. That's criteria number one. And right now we're not doing that. It's an agenda-based driven decision and factor model driven by the person at the top because of keeping their keeping self-preservation mode, right? So that's why the sport is in the way it is right now.
I wonder too if, because you brought that up, the difference between the NFL, right? Like Jerry Jones obviously owns the team outright. Whatever decision he wants to make on his own, he makes on his own. University of Georgia, they have a board of trustees and a president and multiple constituencies that are pulling in maybe in different directions. Obviously, all for football benefits, but pulling in different directions. Which I wonder if that makes it a lot harder for them to kind of team up with other universities because they have to worry about their own university getting all on the same page of this. And then teaming up with other universities where the owners outright are literally individuals like Jerry owner, those guys are all individual owners and they say, hey, we're going to do this. This is the betterment of the NFL. 32 guys agree to it or the majority of them agree to it. It's a done deal. Whereas the universities, you have so many different constituencies just within their own board of trustees and president. I wonder if that's an issue. What do you think?
Yeah, it's usually not on the school level. The problem you have is usually conference to conference level. Okay. And then, we went through it in the pandemic, right? It's where is my university and what is, so you had some conferences that say, down south, we're like, man, we're playing football, man, screw y'all. And then other conferences that were out west or north or wherever were like, well, I don't know. We're worried about this. It's because that's when politics got involved, like real politics got involved in sports, and it doesn't belong in sports. That was the one thing that I always loved about sports is I'm sure you guys played. I don't know how many times you went in a huddle in November every 4 years and they'd ask you who you voted for. Nobody gives a shit. Right. So it's the last great place on earth where it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, white, black, pink, purple, got horns coming out your head or what. It doesn't matter who's in the locker next to him. You know that he's going to do anything he can do to help me, and I'm going to do anything I can do to help him succeed. Absolutely. And so that's what's great about sports. And politics don't belong, and they don't need to be corrupting athletics, which they said, hold my beer and watch this starting about 5 years ago. But you can't get people in like presidents. Sometimes it goes to academics. There's a lot of this conference realignment stuff was over academics. People don't realize that. It wasn't about football. It was like, the Big Ten, right? So Big Ten is a big academic. That's their deal, right? If you're going to be an institution, we're going to be an academic heavy standard institution. They take that stuff serious. And so that's where you get the mismatch of alignment on ideas based on it's a self-serving conference thing. So it's usually it's like having the conferences are like different countries' armies, right? You just got different views and different things, and there has to be somebody over the top that makes the decisions for the betterment of the sport. I think there should be a. I also think basketball. Now this is why I also think basketball should break off as well. But let's
because they can do the same thing.
Yeah, because they're doing the same stuff.
Right. They have a bigger issue in that the NCAA runs their tournament. So, and they'd have to tell the NCAA, you're not getting this money anymore, which NCAA basically lives off that.
$1.23 billion this last year NCAA made off the tournament.
Yep. And those conference, just because I know a lot of conference, a few guys that are conference, what do you call them, commissioners, and those mid majors, for example, live off like they have no incentive. There would be no mid majors if it wasn't for the if it wasn't for the NCAA distributing. They might get cut out of the mix. So they're obviously going to be for the NCAA running the tournament because what's the one in New Jersey, Derek, St. Peter's, when they went to like the Sweet 16 or whatever it was, or final third, when they made their run, right? Like that was like a huge bonus check for that conference, the whole entire conference, right? So they basically got their conference bills and the university basketball programs bills all paid for the whole entire next 3 years because of that. So so that's also a basketball, you're right, is a whole a whole nother animal. Similar situation as far as, especially with the top tier programs. Like I say this all the time because I went to UConn, I played football at UConn, and obviously UConn won national championships 2 years in a row in basketball. But they have a huge issue there, because you look at Alabama, for example, which was never very good in basketball, because those collectives are bigger and bigger, and they're in a conference that there's a lot of money from football, obviously, and now basketball is able to benefit from that. And in the long run, meaning like 5 years from now, if it stays the way it is, would a place like UConn, who's not making as much money, be able to continue to hang? Because you're right, it goes down to the dollar bills on it from that standpoint. 100%. So that's, Alabama. I mean, I don't remember any, Alabama, Texas A&M being good at basketball. They're good. They're all good now. These schools, they're all good. They're all good now. So it's very, very it's very, very interesting. On a quick, on kind of a slight different change, and so Quick Cut, for example, you guys are really like the first competitor to Huddle, right? To really kind of compete with it from a standpoint of everything that from a breaking down of film and all that kind of stuff. Talk about, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that landscape, because there's Exos, there's Huddle, and then there's Quick Cut, right? Exos is mostly college, if I'm not mistaken. And then Quick Cut and Huddle are primarily that high school market as a whole. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I partnered with Quick Cut when I first started. So I run my software. So we branded was kind of part of our agreement, and so Todd Denor and the guys at Quick Cut. So they are they're an alternative to Huddle, a cheaper version of Huddle, obviously. And it's an unbelievable product. And I always laugh. I said, it's coaching, right? So the number one thing is coaches hate change, right? And so 100%. And like literally, it's like there may be a button that you're used to that's on the left that may be down here to the right a little bit, or whatever it is, right?
Right.
It's the same thing, right? It's Coke and Pepsi, except it's a much affordable option. It's better customer service because they actually answer the phone, and they do a phenomenal job. Quick U is the company that I run. It's and then we are a recruiting software for colleges. And so that's kind of was my idea. We use Quick Cut to do all of our cuts and all that stuff. And so I can speak for this as, having to do cuts and everything through Huddle all those years. And now it's the same damn thing. I don't know why. Like I always mess around. I'm like coaches, there's probably gonna be coaches listening to this show that have had to delete their film because of the storage costs over years. You'll never 100%. Have to delete film ever again. Like Huddle, like you can store what would cost you thousands of dollars to store film with Huddle. You can store it on Quick Cut for $150, $200. I mean, like you'll never have to lose your film ever again. And so a lot of people have gone to it.
That's a huge deal. People don't realize that's a huge deal, because if you coach it a long time, like, I mean, in 2020, I had to get rid of some of my stuff that I used to run in like 2012 and put it on a different, and there was stuff that I loved that I ran, but I had to go get clips from it. I could not keep it in there anymore. It was incredibly frustrating. That's one incredibly frustrating, even with like the guys that I help now. It's a really good high school program. They've won a lot of state championships. And when I break down film, like I see they have to get rid of, like, this guy's been around for like 30 years and he's had Huddle, forever. And he's got to get rid. I'm like, oh man, like some of that stuff you ran back in like 2010 was real great stuff.
Yeah. But coaches hate change. They do. That's literally, I always joke. That's the biggest competitor of Quick Cut is not Huddle is not the largest competitor. It's change, right?
It's change.
Because once you get on it, you love it, right? And so a ton of the state of New Jersey is on it. So I know that's one of their biggest states.
Yep.
And then, the first
Graham's
question
got the big son now.
you would
Yeah.
always get from a high school coach. And again, we're partners with them, so I can say this because I understand it. But the first
Right.
question you always get is like, "Hey, how do we swap film?" Because again, coaches, and I'm one of us. I'm part of the nation, so I can say this. We are really good at picking up zone blitz and picking up simulated pressures, but when it comes to pushing buttons on the computer, we fail a little bit sometimes. All right, so it's okay, guys. I get it. I feel your pain. It's the easiest process in the world to swap film. It's literally the same exact way you would swap film on Huddle with downloading links and all those things. And you can swap back and forth with other Huddle schools. There's no issue there because we do that all the time, right? For our recruiting software part is if we're doing a cut on a team that has Huddle, then the coach will download it, will send us his film so we can do the cuts. And he always would send us a link and we would download it and do the cuts through that. So it's very easy. It's very user-friendly and it's extremely affordable to the point to where I know several teams that made the change, went and they didn't tell their athletic director that they were making the change. And they took that extra money and bought a couple extra sets of uniforms. So they were kind of fired up.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
I'm curious what you think, from a recruiting standpoint with respect to the players. Obviously, like Twitter is such a huge players utilize that, and what do you think is around the corner? Because recruiting, how to communicate with coaches communicating them constantly changing. What do you think is around the corner next, or what do you think are the best ways for players to continue to utilize the resources out there to help get themselves recruited?
Yeah, always try to look ahead and look at what's coming and all those things. I don't know if there's anything. I'd be guessing to know what the future wave is going to be. I always say this. I think from my experience being on, from a high school coach to a college coach and then doing what I'm doing now, I've kind of seen all the, and now I'm a parent, and so I've kind of seen all the windows to the recruiting world. My advice always is there's so many people that worry about their recruiting, about where they're at, and how do I help get recruited, those things. And the number one thing, like I was joking with a guy that was on our live the other day, he's like, "What can I do to get recruited better?" I said, "Get off this live and go work. Go work." Like that's where when you get to college, and there's another level to it when you get to the NFL, everybody's talented. All right. What are you going? Nobody gives a shit about your stars when you get to college. And so, can you help me win games or not? Because I have to feed my family. Okay. Are you going to help me win games or not? I don't care if you are a 64 star or you are a 0 star, didn't even have a profile. I'm going to play the guy. There's no politics. There's no mama daddy ball. I'm going to play the guy that helps me keep my job. And so the biggest thing I always say is a lot of people spend too much time worrying about things that they can't control. Okay. You can't control to get a coach come to you. You're not sending an email. You're not sending a text. You're not sending a tweet. You're not sending a DM that's going to make a coach say, "By God, I got to go stop doing what I'm doing now and get on a plane and fly this guy and see this." No, that's not happening. All right. So what can you do? What can you control? What you can control is what you put on film. That's what you can control. All right. That's two parts. Make sure you're making your highlight tape the correct way. All right. There's too many. Like when I watch, example, I can't begin to tell you how many highlight tapes I've watched on wide receivers in my lifetime. I wouldn't even know how to guess. But it's like when I watch a wide receiver's highlight tape, I know when I see the blocking that the tape's supposed to be over. I know it's about to be over because you wait to put to the 8 minutes into the mark. Most college coaches are only watching 2 minutes. So you got 2 minutes to catch their attention. All right. Show yourself running. I don't care if you make the play or not. Too many people put result-oriented plays on their highlight.
Right.
All right. Not movement skills. And so, example, there's nothing worse than turning on a running back highlight tape. You know what running backs are going to do? The first 15 clips, if they're a good running back and a starting running back in a high school team, their first 15 clips are going to be every one of their touchdown runs. Okay. I'm not getting anything out of the 1 yard touchdown run. I don't see shit. All right. I mean, and so that's time you lost of my attention.
Right.
Right. Second thing, like taking running backs, for example, some of their best runs are their shorter runs. Okay.
Right.
If the right tackle whiffed and he made him miss in the backfield and got back to the line of scrimmage and got out of a negative play, man,
Nice job.
that stuff's really good. It needs to be on your highlight tape. Kids will never put it on their highlight tape because they didn't get any yards. All right. And then here's my favorite. All right. Now we're talking about highlight tape. They're eventually going to see it, but I will tell you this: there are a lot of schools that won't even watch evaluation tapes. They're going to recruit off highlight tapes. So you should use that to your advantage. There's so many times that a guy's like a workhorse. Okay, y'all probably play against one or have coached against one at some point in time. That some kids carrying the ball 46 times in a game. All right, something crazy. They're just every ball snap, and he may break off a 25, 30, 40-yard run in the fourth quarter. He's tired, boss. He's tired. Okay, and so his legs are tired or whatever, and he looks slow. All right, he gets called or he runs out of bounds. Okay, they will put, because that's a 40-yard run, they'll put on their highlight tape. Coaches that aren't great evaluators will turn you off because they think you can't run. They want to see you run. Okay, so when you put clips on your highlight tape, make sure you're running. Don't put in like the one that's left off the defensive lineman all the time. Defensive line's a great thing. Everybody wants to know, how did Nick Saban get all those defensive linemen all those years? Okay, well, Kenyon Williams was like a 3-star recruit or 2-star recruit until we offered him out of Winona, right? And so Deron Payne, same thing. Both these guys were top 5 picks, top 3, I think, in the NFL draft. If you watch their highlight tape, it'd make you go to sleep because both of them would play like zero nose, and they'd do this right here. And if they fell on top of the pile for half a sack, they'd put it on their deal. But what they didn't have on their highlight tape that we were able to see when we did our evaluation tapes on them is, hell, there were 50, 60 clips a game where they had shed the guy, dip, rip, show hip flexibility, quick twitch, short area quickness, and they may have not made the tackle, or the quarterback could have been throwing an RPO or whatever. Like, if they don't sack the quarterback, that's not going on their tape. If it's not a TFL, that's not going on their tape. But there's so many times that they two-gapped and made the guy bounce that's not on the tape. And so putting the right stuff on the tape you can control, that's one. And then the second part is you can control how well you play on the tape. And so, like, the players that take plays off, like if you get to a point where you need to take a play off, it's better you be on the sideline than on the field.
100%.
And so coaches play guys too long on sides, especially like if you're at a school that you have that one guy or whatever it is, they play guys every play of the drive. I mean, you want to watch a 3 technique play about 56 plays into a game in high school, and then he'll go play a series on offense, whatever it is. He's done. I mean, we all did it. I did it too. I played special teams, played both ways in high school.
Right.
But it's different now. And so my point of the drill is this: if you're a really good player, they're going to find you. There's too much technology out there. There's companies like us and all that put all this stuff up. There's too much technology out there at their disposal. So control what you can control, which is what you put on tape when you make your tape and what you put on tape when you go out there and play. Those are the 2 things you can control. And I will say this. I'll say the last thing. The other thing you can do to help, and this is other advice I'd give, is I see this happen every year. It breaks my heart. There'll be a kid, let's just wherever. What's your favorite state there, Coach?
Favorite state? Football?
Yeah.
Football?
Pick one.
Texas.
All right, Texas. There'll be a kid from Dallas, and he'll get during the spring, he'll get a Texas State, a UTSA, North Texas will come by, and they'll all invite him to camp. Okay, man, we want to work you out. We think we're going, like we were talking about, they may even offer to come to camp or whatever it is. They're interested in you. And that kid the whole summer, he's going to go to Texas A&M, and Nebraska. And then realizes, man, they're not going to offer me, and then try to go back, and they've already filled up. And so always go to camps. It's much better time for parents and financially better for them to go to a college camp than it is to go to the Rivals or 247s or Under Armours, all that stuff, because nobody's recruiting you off of that. And so now they will recruit you if they get film of the camp, but Under Armour, I think, is the only camp that's doing that, only series that's doing that. But you're not getting recruited off of that. And then when you go to the camps, freaking compete, man. Don't go visit. I can't tell you how many people I just mark off my list. It'll be like they think that I've asked them to come to camp. Hell, I want you to work. And they won't come to a visit and not compete. or they'll get out there and there'll be a line of, like, I won't tell them either because I want to see what kind of person they are. All right. I want competitors. That's the number one criteria I look for in intangibles is competitive character. So there's 25 receivers, people don't realize this, and coach, you may not know this. When you go to like a college camp and they have that one-on-one line, and you've always wondered why they got all those guys standing around.
Yep.
That's by design.
Yeah.
Because we want to see who goes to the back of the line, and we want to see the people that want to keep cutting and getting more reps.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's by design.
There's a method to the madness.
There's a method to the madness. There's a method to the madness. That is 100% by design. Because I want to see who wants to jump up and wants to get some. I want to see who wants to compete. Now, parents and some people go, man, this is a poorly ran camp.
Exactly. My son only got 3 reps.
But that's okay. I'm gonna get my guys. Caleb Warren, who's a starting center at Ole Miss, is from Nanawaya High School. All right. They literally have ant hills on their practice field. Like you had to dodge the fire ants. All right. I'm talking about as country in the middle of nowhere as you can ever find. Okay. Ran like a wing T offense in a 1A high school. But he came to camp and ran a 4.95 at 320 pounds. All right. And when we did one-on-ones, he refused to come off of the field. That's why we offered him. He's been like an 87-year starter at Ole Miss with COVID and everything now. I think he's as old as I am playing center.
Still there.
Still there. He'll be starting this year.
It's amazing.
That's it. That's the desire that's necessary.
Absolutely.
That's it. Let the coaches tell you to take a break, not you to take a break. Let the coaches tell you to take a break.
When I see him enough, I'll let you know.
That's exactly it. Well, Coach, it's been great having you on, man. It's really, really enjoyable to talk to, football with you, recruiting with you. I mean, your knowledge is second to none, and we appreciate your candor. You know what I mean? Because that's what's needed more than anything in this world today, man.
Absolutely.
More people that have the candor and the ability to say what's on their mind versus holding back, because you're 100% right, man. When I talk to university, like people in universities, I could all the time, you could feel that the pressure for them to hold back. You know what I'm saying? The pressure for them, like I feel it when they come into an interview. Like I feel it like right away. Like, oh my God, they're worried about what are we going to ask them? What can they say? What they can't say? I actually feel bad for them from that standpoint, because it has to be frustrating to a certain extent. So I really appreciate you, coming in and saying exactly what you think, and it's very helpful, because more of it needs to be said.
You bet, brother. Appreciate you guys, man.
Appreciate you, Coach, man. Really been awesome. Absolutely.
And keep doing what you're doing. We really enjoy the podcast. It is phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, we have a good time with it. It's gotten it's gotten crazy, I guess, the last,
cranked up, man.
Yeah, it's gotten crazy, but that's a good thing. It's gotten crazy, and it'll be, the great thing is it's gotten crazy in the off season. So they hadn't made it through a season yet. They haven't got to, a lot of the new people haven't got to experience Make It Rain Thursday or Tell the Truth Monday yet. So that'll be coming pretty soon. I kind of broke them into the Joker last week, so they'll get some joke. We have a special guest. The Joker comes on usually on Thursdays that Colorado's getting picked against. That's usually when the Joker comes out. So, I got called. I can't remember now. It's gotten so part of the show that I can't even remember what. I think I picked. That's what it was. They did. It was last year. Yeah, it was last year at the beginning of the year. I picked. We do on Thursdays. We do picks against the spread and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
So I picked against Colorado in the deal. And brother, when they won, they came out. The haters came out from everywhere. All right, they were coming. I'm talking about left field, right field. I was getting it up the middle. I mean, it felt like I was getting jumped in high school or something. I had to back myself into a corner. But they kept calling me a clown, right? A clown. I said, okay, they want a clown. I'll give them a clown. So I made it my point. I didn't even care. I didn't even look at the games. The Joker came out and I literally picked against Colorado the entire year for the haters of the show. And so I did it with a Joker mask. And then, but then I had to get serious about halfway through because but it was starting to cost me my competition against Neil, and I couldn't lose. So because it would be terribly embarrassing for a football coach to lose football picks to a media member. So I just can't allow him to lose. I will not allow him to win, whatever it takes. But the punishments that we do, the loser has, was not up my alley. And he has picked basically the same punishment that I was going to have last year. I'm terrified of ghosts. So if I lose, I have to go stream a live show from a haunted bed and breakfast.
Oh,
and I'm telling you, I mean, look, I don't mess with ghosts. I'm terrified of them. I'm not scared of a lot of things, but if I can't do nothing with you, if I can't choke you out or put you in an arm bar, then I don't know. I'm scared. So it's like, with snakes. Snakes we call them Mr. No Shoulders. Snakes, you can't put a snake in an arm bar. So yeah. Mr. No Shoulders, I don't like snakes. So I don't do sharks. Same thing, sharks. I don't think you can put the fin in an arm bar. I don't think that would work. So anything that can get me that I can't get them in an arm bar or choke them out, I'm scared of. So whatever counts for that. But hopefully we can get Neil to lose this year. Hopefully I can put it on him again. So he has to spend the night. We're gonna get a tent, and he's gonna have to spend the night in the spring race in the infield at Talladega Super Speedway for the spring race. And he's got to wear cowboy boots, no socks, cowboy boots. We're gonna get him some cutoff blue jeans, and he's got to wear. He's got to wear a shirt that says Dale Earnhardt is overrated.
So, there you go, dude. Like That's good. That's good. Listen, I think you'll do all right, though. I think you'll do all right. I'm rooting for you.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, guys.
Have a great day.
Talk soon. See you later, buddy.
That was great. That was phenomenal time. I tell you, I learned a bunch of things too on the structure of the whole entire system. Which is important, and it is one of those things that I never thought about. If it can be fixed, it can be fixed quickly, and
you hope so.
But it's like anything else. It's like, even politics wise, right? Like there's some things that fundamentally could be fixed, but powers that be choose not to. So that's always becomes,
and it all comes back to money. So
yeah, it comes. Well, in some cases, it might come back to like their own personal money. Mean my job. Like, okay, what would my job be if I didn't? That's also an issue in itself too. I think is a big deal. But that was great guest.
He's awesome. Their show is great. Their show is great because that's literally what you're getting, right? You're getting a college football coach, you're getting a media member. So yes, they agree on some things, but a lot of times they just, it is what it is. And then with all the callers and whatnot, and then obviously with his experience and his stories, when he talks about some recruiting stories with certain individuals, he makes sure to leave the names out, that's for sure. But like you said, you're getting honesty, you're getting exactly what it is. And that's what makes it great. And that's why it's, their show has just continued to, flourish. So absolutely. Definitely, I'm a big fan. But that was good. Excellent.
Much like us as we're continuing to grow ourselves. So
doing what we do.
Piece by piece. Great show, and we'll see you next time. I'm sure we got more for next week. So, all right.